Have you ever heard of the compound effect? It's kind of like money where it compounds over time. And it's the strategy of reaping huge rewards from small, seemingly insignificant actions. And there's a book about this called The Compound Effect by Darren Hardy, which I would highly recommend. So in today's video, I want to walk you through how some small choices, like very small actions that if you do over time, will give you significant results. 1, do something creative. So we're all creative when we're kids, and somehow when we get older, people think, oh, I'm not creative anymore, but we all are, we just don't realize it. If you're bad at painting, that's okay. You can still be creative in other ways. You just express your creativity differently. If you're a bad designer, that's okay, because maybe you're amazing at writing, or maybe you're great at woodworking, or maybe you're really creative at finances. There's so many different ways that creativity can be used, and every single person is creative in some way. So just because you can't paint or draw, or however you have put creativity in a box, doesn't actually mean anything. So human beings, our value is driven by our creativity. So if we can, automate and delegate all the things that like a robot could do, that is actually where humans are supposed to thrive, is when we're creative and thinking through problems. So what's the difference between a robot and a human being? A robot generally will follow instructions, will follow rules, but they're not thinking creatively how to solve it. They're, in like a single box thinking. They're not stepping outside and thinking, okay, what's the outcome that I want? How might be a different way to do this? It's generally they're following instructions. And so humans, as much as we're talking about, AI and all of this stuff, we're so far ahead of where that's gonna be, because we can actually think creatively and strategically over our problems, which will help us. And we have to focus on that because that is our core strength. So anytime you're feeling like, I actually tell my team this, is if your tasks or things can be delegated or automated, that's great. You're not gonna automate your way out of a job, because you are much more valuable than that to the company, because if you're thinking creatively, I would much prefer that than you mindlessly doing a task that a robot could do. So creativity can be used across so many different facets, not just what we consider artistic. And I want you to think about that when you approach each area of your life. So let's figure out how we can live creatively and think, problem solving, and try to automate anything that's not to do with that. Number 2, organize and declutter. This can be very overwhelming if you haven't done it in a while, but it's probably something that you need to do. And I'm gonna walk you through how I approach this, because I'm not an organized person, believe it or not. Being organized and decluttering helps you be more productive in your environment. So it's this idea of resistance playing a factor in your day-to-day. If your home or your apartment is cluttered all the time and it's disorganized, you have to really go on a hunt to find things, then there's always resistance that is in the way of you going about your day and accomplishing your goals. So spend some time, and it doesn't have to be a chunk of time, spend some time focusing on organizing and removing that daily friction that you come across every single day that takes up your time. One way I do this is I call it the 20-minute rule, and I don't really like organizing or cleaning or anything like that, but you can do anything really for 20 minutes. So if you set a timer on your phone for 20 minutes and say, okay, I'm gonna organize this drawer over here for the next 20 minutes, and then once that 20 minutes is done, I'm not doing it anymore. And if you did that consistently every single day, you would be able to get your whole place organized without feeling overwhelmed. Once you spend some time focusing on organizing, decluttering, maybe you can sell some of the things that you've not used in a while, or donate things that you haven't used in a long time. And something that I learned from the book Essentialism about this whole organizing process, oftentimes we overvalue what we own. And this can come up when, we have all the stuff that we haven't used in a while, but we're like, oh, I don't want to throw it out, but I don't use it. And if I want to sell it, how much for? And think of the question, if I did not own this, how much would I pay for it? And if the answer is 0, then you either have to sell it or you have to donate it, because it's just taking up space in your life and you're not even using it. And lastly, practice gratitude. Gratitude changes your perspective and trains your brain to focus on the good rather than the bad. We already get enough of people pointing out the bad by watching the news, by, talking to people. It's really important that you protect your mindset by focusing on the good things in your life. So Tony Robbins has this idea of stand guard at the door of your mind. So be really protective of what you allow into your life and into your brain, because it will poison you if you always listen to negativity. And this way you are really being mindful of where your energy and your mind is focused. By focusing on the good things in your life, you will always appreciate what you have, because as we, get more successful, when we can afford more stuff, when we buy more stuff, when we have more stuff, if we don't appreciate the things in our life already, we'll always be trying to fill that void with more things or more people instead of appreciating what we have. So it's really important to take that time to just be grateful, because oftentimes we're not grateful until we think we're gonna lose something. So when we're feeling sick, when you have the flu, you're like, oh, all I wanna do is be better. But when you're better, are you grateful for your health? Oftentimes it's when we don't feel good, or when we think we're gonna lose something is when we start appreciating it. So don't wait until you don't have it anymore or you might lose it in order to appreciate it. Now, when it comes to gratitude, it could be big things like a job promotion or a bonus, or little things like a great cup of coffee in the morning, a great conversation, time with your partner. It shouldn't be big things only. It should be a mix of big things and little things. A gratitude practice is acknowledging all of the things you appreciate by writing them down. Of course, I would recommend getting the self-journal and creating a daily habit of gratitude. One of the things that when I was creating the self-journal, I'm learning all of these success frameworks that successful people were doing, and I'm thinking, okay, how do I take all these frameworks and put them into a system that I do every day without needing to recreate the wheel? And one of them was gratitude, which is why it's so important every single day to just write down 3 things you're grateful for, or 1 thing and 3 reasons why you're grateful. That's how 2 different ways I use the self-journal to write the things that I'm grateful for every single day. These 3 small things, as I mentioned earlier, can have a huge compounding effect over how you see the world and how you spend your time. Your life will change for the better and you won't even notice it. You'll wake up one day and realize how much differently you see the world by just doing these small things every single day and watching as things change over time. Thanks for watching.